everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Thanks for hopping on tonight. This is the very first Nrf2 Equine Health webinar, I guess you call it. Sorry, got lots of technical issues with other people. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Alice Beretta. She's an equine veterinarian. She's also a really good friend of mine, and she's going to be talking about Nrf2 activation for your horse and what it means for your horse and for other people that you love. So take it away. Since Kayla's not on, I'll go ahead and say Alice graduated from UGA. She is what UGA folks call a double dog. She got her bachelor's degree from UGA and her DVM from UGA. So she's also a wife and a mom of 2 adorable boys. And she has her own mobile equine veterinary practice. So she's really got a juggle going on. She's super busy. So thank you so much, Alice, for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us tonight and tell us about Nrf2 for your horse.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. That was a great introduction. And it's really such a wonderful thing to share with people that I can't get enough. You know, I really feel like so many more people should know about it. And, you know, some of you may not know what Nrf2 activation is, and I'll explain in just a little bit. But really, it's such a great tool, a great way to support our horses. And when it comes to your horse's health, there's a whole team approach to it. There's the owner who is there every day to see how the horse is doing and notice some of those subtle changes. And then you have your farrier who works on the horse's feet, and maybe a trainer or a groomer. You know, there's so many different people that can be involved in the horse's health. And by the time the veterinarian gets called, what I've noticed is that there's usually a big problem. It's no longer something subtle. It's something that has gone on for too long. And so what I'd like to share with you guys today is a way to support our horses so that hopefully you can intervene or you can help before those huge problems occur. Sorry, Christy, will you go ahead and flip the thank you? So before I go on and tell you too much, I just wanted to kind of share my family and my story so that I'm not just a stranger standing in front of you. But this is my husband and my 2 boys, and I'm a practice owner. I own my own practice. I've been in practice for over 15 years, but I'm also the mom of 2 boys. So it's kind of a juggle. And I see every day when I get called that I feel like there has to be something more that we can do to support our horses. And so this is just a really great thing that I love to share with people. And initially when I found out about it, I was at a point in my career where I realized that there are a lot of things that we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. A lot of things that we see in horses, our options for treatment are kind of limited. And so I've always felt like there's got to be something more. There's got to be something else that we can do to support them. So Christy, go ahead. So at the bottom of all this, and kind of the root cause of a lot of diseases and a lot of inflammatory conditions, is something called oxidative stress. And most people don't know what oxidative stress is, but what it is all animals that breathe oxygen, the byproduct of that is oxidation. It's these little free radicals that attack our cells and damage our cells and damage tissues. And so it's very important that our bodies are able to reduce this oxidative stress or neutralize these free radicals. And you know, what it is it's oxidation of the body, kind of like rusting of metal, or when an apple turns brown when you cut it in half. It's really what oxidative stress is, and it is what results in aging. Okay. So the big question is, how do we fight oxidative stress, and how do we reduce this free radical damage? And there's two different types of antioxidants. Most people know that antioxidants are good for you and they're a good thing. But what most people don't know is there's two different kinds. There's direct antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, the things that we see in our supplements that we often give our horses. But there's also these indirect antioxidants. And those are complex molecules that the body makes. So it's not something that you take, it's something that your body is making. And those large molecules work completely differently. Those antioxidant enzymes work at 1,000,000 to 1 per second versus a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you this is a good way to picture it, if you're looking at a gigantic house fire, and that house fire is your oxidative stress. You can throw a Dixie cup of water at that house fire, and yes, you're helping a little, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not making a difference. So the way to really reduce that oxidative stress, or get rid of that house fire, is going to be more like your fire hose that is spraying continuously nonstop and is going to actually extinguish that fire. And so that's kind of a good analogy to see the difference. And most people just aren't aware of that. So what we're going to tell you about is a way to increase those antioxidant enzymes and be able to really extinguish those free radicals. And the way to do that is by Nrf2 activation. And the moral of the story is not to take more antioxidants, because those are actually toxic at higher levels, but to make more antioxidants. So this is kind of a nerdy little schematic, but I really like it because it really explains how Nrf2 activation works. And it's literally a DNA wake-up call. And by activating that Nrf2 protein, it turns on your survival genes. And I don't know about you guys, but I could use all the survival that I can get. I own my own practice. I'm on call 24/7. I have small children. I juggle like a mad woman, and sometimes my diet is not perfect. So it's just really important to be able to activate that Nrf2 pathway, especially as we get older. So this is a little diagram that shows you the Nrf2 activator is the little purple mushroom. And when that pathway is activated, it allows the little red circle, Nrf2, it's just a messenger protein, to enter the nucleus of the cell in each and every one of your cells, bind the DNA, and turn on those survival genes. And those survival genes are the ones that decrease inflammation, result in the production of those antioxidant enzymes that are so crucial, and decrease fibrosis and inflammation. But you can see how important that is. And the more we activate that pathway, the better off we are. So if you haven't heard of Protandim yet, I'm just kind of excited to be able to share what it does for people. But what Protandim does is it activates that pathway. It activates that Nrf2 pathway in a way that it can lower, or actually lowers, oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days, which is huge because oxidative stress is the root cause of inflammatory conditions, of diseases. And so if you can reduce your oxidative stress by 40%, and to help your body decrease that stress and that inflammation, so that hopefully you're not faced with some of those things. And Protandim, if you're wondering what's in it, it actually has 5 herbs. That's a product. It has 5 herbs that are all amazing in themselves. I mean, they've been used in Eastern medicine for thousands and thousands of years. But what's really cool about Protandim is the synergy of the formula. They were able to combine these herbs in a way to make them much more effective. So the synergy of the 5 herbs is really the magic, is why it's able to reduce oxidative stress by 40%. And what's also really cool about that is because they work synergistically, the amounts are very small. So you're not faced with side effects and drug interactions and things like that you would with higher doses. And the herbs are, and you may have heard of some of these: turmeric, milk thistle, green tea, ashwagandha, and bacopa. This is a cool graph. I like to share this one because it really shows you how important this pathway is. Just over the last few years, pharmaceutical companies and different universities have been doing a ton of research on this pathway because of the potential, because of what it can do and how much it can help. And this is kind of cool, but when I found out about it, the first thing I thought of was, why haven't I ever heard of this? Why have I never heard of Nrf2? And I have a background in biochemistry, and I hate to admit it, but actually I graduated in 1998 with my biochem degree, and the pathway had just been discovered, and there just wasn't known. It wasn't being taught in school, and there really wasn't much research, and nobody really knew what it did. But since then, more and more studies have come out. Pharmaceutical companies are trying to make something that can work like Protandim. So it's just really cool that we have a natural product that's safe, that can do what most pharmaceutical companies are chasing and trying to create. And the beauty of it is it's natural, it's safe, it works with the body. You get that natural pulsatile rhythm, that Nrf2 protein is released and it activates the pathway, and then it kind of turns off and starts over again. So that's very different from pharmaceuticals that don't really work with the body, and they turn on the pathway and leave it on. That's when a lot of side effects and different things happen. Oh, this is great. This is one of my favorite papers. If you guys love nerdy papers, then absolutely, we can email you the link so that you can read this. Initially, when I found out about this, I really dove into all the studies and just got carried away and stayed all night long just reading all this nerdy stuff. I guess my brain was missing school or something, I don't know. But my kids were super young, and I remember looking at my clock and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go to bed. They're going to be up in 4 hours. But this is a great paper. If you're looking for science, if you're looking for real science, you want to go to pubmed.gov, and that's the National Institute of Health website. And you can plug in Protandim and see all the peer-reviewed studies. It's crazy. I mean, we actually have 28 peer-reviewed studies on Protandim, which is unheard of for a supplement. Usually there are no studies, and you have to look up the ingredients and search them individually. So it's just incredible to have so much research and on a natural product. But this paper is one of my favorites. The title really explains mostly what it is, but it just says Nrf2 is a master regulator of detoxification and also antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and other cell protective mechanisms. And they actually, this is, third party. It was published by Washington State. It's not associated with our company at all. But one of the quotes in that paper is that Nrf2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. And that's huge, because the same paper actually talks about Protandim and the synergy of the herbs and how it works. And so it's just, this kind of sums it up. Once you hear this information, I would feel guilty not to share it. Once you've seen what it can do and how it can help others and help your patients, you really feel driven to share the information. This is another good paper. I just wanted to throw it in there. It just talks about oxidative stress and equine medicine, and that your goal is really to maintain that antioxidant-oxidant balance. If you have too many oxidants and not enough antioxidants to remove them, where cellular damage happens, and your organs are made of cells, and your whole body is made out of cells. So really, it's just as simple as maintaining that balance, because oxidative stress is what leads to damage and disease. So how does oxidative stress affect your horse? And these are things that I see every day, that most of you, if you've owned a horse and had more than one horse, you probably see these things. But metabolic diseases like Cushing's, metabolic syndrome, and then laminitis as a side effect, those are linked to oxidative stress. Inflammatory airway disease, or equine asthma, eye conditions like uveitis. I see a lot of that. A lot of anything that ends with an itis is linked to inflammation and oxidative stress. Osteoarthritis is a big deal. When we have athletes and we're trying to keep them young and at their tip-top shape, you really want to help decrease the stress on their joints. Tendon injuries. We've all heard that dreaded diagnosis. Nobody wants to hear that their horse has had a tendon injury. And exercise-related fatigue and injury, we see that a lot in race horses or endurance horses. And sarcoids and other tumors. The bottom line is cancer or tumors or abnormal growth. And what happens when those free radicals enter the cells and they damage the DNA of those stem cells, that's when abnormal growth happens. And abnormal growth is cancer. That's what tumors are. So oxidative stress and cancer, there's definitely a huge link there. So things that you can see when you activate that Nrf2 pathway and you're able to decrease inflammation and turn on those antioxidant enzymes, some of the results that you'll see is a better skin and coat, increased energy and endurance, a healthier immune system, better joints and mobility, reduced joint pain and inflammation, stronger resistance to allergies, better tooth and gum health, which is a big deal. Horses really do rely on their mouths for nutrition. If you guys have ever owned an old horse with no teeth, you go through a lot of senior feed. It's tough. So you want to maintain their gum health as long as possible. Better cardiovascular health, increased mental function and alertness, and just overall reduction of age-related health problems. Oh, good. So this is Puff, and I wanted to share Puff with you guys. He was my first patient that I actually put on Protandim. And as soon as I found out about this and did a bunch of research, I knew he would be my first guinea pig. He really just had a really poor quality of life. He had a history of chronic laminitis of 10 years or more. I had been his veterinarian for 9 years, and nothing we did could help him. He would have a few good days here and there, but they weren't good days. He spent 85% of the day laying down. He was just in terrible, terrible pain. And we had discussed euthanasia, but I don't think that the owner was ready. And I thought, as soon as my Protandim comes in, I'm putting him on it. And sure enough, he responded like I never imagined that he would. And quite honestly, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. I mean, I'm the one who took those videos, and I remember playing this video and thinking, this is crazy. And it just made me realize the potential. There's an answer to everything. We just have to find it. And it was the answer for this guy. So many people, so many horses, that I really feel strongly that this is information that needs to be shared. So Christy, I'll let you play the video. This was before I put him on it. He had these cute little aluminum shoes. The video is not the greatest quality on my end, so I hope you guys can see it. But he was just very stiff. It was painful to walk. After about 3 weeks, he seemed a little better, more willing to walk, and I was actually already kind of impressed. After 8 weeks, you can definitely see there's still a lameness there, but he's like stealing some grass and, you know, feels good enough to have a little bit more spunk, you know, more willingness to walk. And then after 12 weeks, I was floored. I had never seen him walk this comfortably in the 10 years that I'd known him. And the only thing we had changed was this one little yellow pill once a day. And it was a life changer. I mean, it really completely turned him around. And I was just so impressed with how he responded. And I just knew that I had to share with others, because if it could do that for this pony that had been crippled for this long and nothing had touched it, I just knew that it could help so many of my patients. Oh, and this is actually Christy's pony. Nissa is a great example. He also had a history of chronic laminitis and metabolic syndrome. And she was really diligent, kept him on a very tight diet, you know, low starch, everything she was supposed to do. But despite that, he still had rings on his feet. He was still had that dished appearance where he had some rotation in that coffin bone. And I remember thinking, poor little guy, you know, he's on this restricted diet and it's not working. And so sure enough, she started him on just one pill, one Protandim once a day. And it's amazing how, I mean, you can tell he grew a whole new hoof, you know, in less than 9 months, or not even, like 6 months. So he was growing almost a centimeter a day. I mean, a centimeter every couple weeks or so. And you can see the rings on his feet as they grew out. And his new hoof growth is straight. You don't have that dished appearance. And I mean, he literally grew a whole new foot in just 3 months time. It was amazing. And he's continued to do really well. She's been able to keep him on turnout. He doesn't have, his diet's not as restricted as it was. Some of his pads have kind of melted away. And it's just a whole new life for him. I just wanted to share that one. We have tons of testimonials, lots of great stories. Christy has a ton of them on Nrf2 Equine Health on Facebook if you want to look it up. Or you can send Kayla a text message and she would be glad to send you or invite you to the group. And then also, not to be forgotten, we all know lots of old dogs, you know, barn dogs, horseshoe dogs. And we also have a canine version called Pet Tandem for dogs. And I had to share this picture because it's my friend's dog and they had set up some obstacles for him. But you know, these old poor dogs, they don't live as long as we do, and their levels of oxidative stress are higher than ours. And so it's just an amazing way to keep them healthy. What I love about animals is there's no placebo effect. You have no idea that they're taking something different and that they're supposed to feel better. So when you see improvement within a few weeks and you just see their attitudes change, they're playful, they're running around and acting like they're 2 years old again, it's just priceless. So I'll kind of leave you guys with this. You know, the bottom line is, at the end of the day, it's about supporting the body, supporting the whole horse, and just giving them the best quality of life possible. And it boils down to gene activation. You know, it's about giving your body what it needs to reach its genetic potential. And we've all had our favorite horses out there that we want to do that with, and we want to keep them around forever. And I guess what I really want to leave people with the impression of is that this is amazing information and that it needs to be shared. And as this information came to me initially, it was just all about the science. But the more I found out about it, the more I realized that I wanted to share it with others. And it became kind of my side business, my side hustle. And that's significant. It really is, because you know, I realize that even though I adore what I do and I want to do it forever, I really don't see myself at 80 years of age getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go treat a colic. And I just realize if I get hurt and I can't work, then I have no income. And all of a sudden one day I grew up, you know, I have a family, I have 2 kids. I'm like burning the candle at both ends. And I realized that you can't keep going the way that you have been and just hope that you never get hurt or hope that nothing happens and that you can work, for the rest of your life. And I just, when I started to see this like truly as a side business for me, it just opened up my world and made me realize that there is so much more that I can do and so many more people that I can help outside of the people that I meet every day. And I'd like to introduce our friend Sam. Sam is such an amazing person. He is one of the people that has helped me with this business, and he's been such a great mentor. And he's a horse person too. He's a horse lover too. Wears Wranglers and boots like the rest of us. And I really appreciate him for everything that he's done to help our team. And I wanted him to share a little bit about his story, how the business has changed his life. And I don't know, I'm just excited to have him on today because he's been such an inspiration to all of us. And I know that you guys will appreciate everything he has to share. Hi, Sam. Can you hear us?
I can, Alice. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for jumping on. I know you've got family and it's Friday night and
No worries. It's great to be on and see y'all. I have to use y'all because I'm in the South right now. So I'm learning. I'm in Louisiana, actually.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Arizona, little town in northeast Arizona called Snowflake. I grew up on a farm and ranch, 7th of 10 kids, big family. So I grew up, building fence, irrigating, branding, you name it, and after school, come home from school and mom would say, go get your clothes on. Dad needs you to go help him do something. And that was till dark usually, and then dinner and homework, and knew the value of hard work, and I love so much of it. I mean, of course, it's always nostalgic looking back, and sometimes I look at a horse and I look at that looks like work, but I do love horses. I do love what this can do for them, and my story in this business is that after high school, I'd done a few things, college, eventually I did construction for a while, eventually finished my degree and became a school teacher. I taught 6th grade for about 4 years in our small town of Snowflake, northeast Arizona. And I was married, had 2 kids. I was working full time. My wife was working full time. And I got approached about this business by a friend of mine. And I'd never heard of oxidative stress or free radicals, or, I didn't know much about all the science stuff. And, I just was really impressed with this friend and had a lot of respect for him. He invited my wife and I to take a look, and on the outside looking in, we probably looked like things were fine. I had a full-time job. My wife had a full-time job. She was a marketing manager for a cell phone company. We had 2 kids. I mean, if you didn't know us, I mean, you might think that everything's just good. But what he didn't know is that I never wanted my wife to have to work, and we were living paycheck to paycheck, and things weren't all good. And that's probably more often the case than not. I mean, you look right now at this government shutdown, which actually apparently just ended today, at least temporarily. And, it was like one of our friends in the business posted, he's on Facebook, he said, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a sad state of affairs when, basically the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in savings. I mean, I saw a thing on the news, and I don't usually watch the news, but we're staying with some friends here in Louisiana. And so they had the news on, and it was showing this food bank and things like that. And these different groups that were helping do food and different things for government workers who are still working without getting a paycheck. And I'm like, it's sad what's going on, and I won't get into politics on this. So that wouldn't be good. But I can just tell you that it's a sad state of affairs when 2 weeks, or maybe it's been 3 or 4, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can't go a month without getting a paycheck. I mean, if and I could go into a whole other social economics class here on that too, and our social structure and everything, but I won't do that either. But my point is, how dependent are you on an income from somebody else? How dependent are you? And so when I first got introduced to this, I'd never done network marketing. I kind of had a negative opinion about it. I was just praying for years to get my wife home. And so when I got in, we were real skeptical. And went to this presentation, my wife says, okay, we'll go, but we're not taking our credit card. We're not buying anything. We're not going to sign up for anything. And when we saw the product, for me, what happened for me is when I learned what oxidative stress was. And I learned about PubMed, the NIH website, and I typed in oxidative stress. There was about 80,000 studies back then. And I learned that affected like over 200 different diseases. Like it was one of the leading cause of aging and disease. And I said, wait, this product lowers that by an average of 40%, and nobody knows about this yet. I was like, holy cow, this is going to be huge. And long story short, we actually jumped right in the business the next day. We just saw an opportunity. We were scared. We were nervous. We didn't talk to anybody for a week, wondered if we'd done the right thing. But, my friend's dad was a human anatomy physiology teacher, biology teacher at a high school for 30 plus years, done some university work, and he had joined the business. On my own team now, I've got nurses, doctors, dentists, physical therapists, veterinarians, horse people, non-horse people. I mean, just what I love about this industry is it doesn't matter your background, your race, your gender, your education. It's a level playing field. Everybody has the same opportunity to invest in the different options of packs, and everyone gets paid the same based on their work and how professional they become, and what they learn. And for us, it didn't start out super fast. Originally we thought, well, let's try this. We want to give it to her dad. Her dad had worked at a paper mill for years and years, and really bad back problems. And he didn't notice things right away. It took a while, but then you guys as horse people will appreciate this. Her dad, recently, he said, if all hell broke loose and everything went to muck, if you know what I mean, he goes, all I would need, I would need my horse, some jerky, and my Protandem, and I'd be good. That's how much he believes in Protandem. And he's like an old cowboy type. And some of you may know him. But we believe in it. I mean, I'm so much healthier. My knee from a football injury is so much better. My ankle, my wife doesn't get the bronchitis pneumonia symptoms she used to get. My son had a real bad rash that was contagious. Doctor said it might take a couple of years to go away. 2 weeks on half a pill, it was gone. I mean, it sounds too good to be true, and that's what everybody thinks. I mean, you could ask anybody on this call. We're all skeptical, and it's good to be skeptical. It's healthy to be skeptical, but that's what I love is that on the company side, we're publicly traded, so we're transparent. Our company just had their biggest quarter in their company history last quarter, and the stock hit I think an all-time high of $16 yesterday or 2 days ago. And still not even 1% of the world knows about this. And we have the opportunity to help people. And by the way, I guess to finish my story, it took me a while to get going. I'd never done this. I'd never been in any real sales things or anything, an employee mindset and things, but I just knew I saw an opportunity. I saw a product that was amazing, and I was going to tell the world. And we got to work, and we made a ton of mistakes, but we listened to trainings. We went to trainings. They say you can treat this like a hobby or a business, but it'll pay you accordingly. And we said, if there's people succeeding, we want to do what it takes to succeed. Whatever it takes, kind of a thing. Even though it was scary, and it took me a long time to wrap my head, especially around the network marketing part. But now, years, and we've been able to replace mine and my wife's income. We've been able to sell our home, actually. We lived in the country for a while. Our kids were in 4-H, doing the 4-H animals, things like that. And we just felt like God was calling us to sell our home and get on the road. And we are actually full-time RVing right now. I still can't believe I'm actually saying that. It was harder than heck to get out of there. You know how moving is, let alone moving into an RV. And we got 4 kids now. We've been able to have 2 more kids after we retired from our other jobs to go full time into LifeVantage. And it's probably a mess, but I'm going to show you a little bit. I'm inside our RV right now. My son's up there. Say hi, Hire. Say hi. he's he's up there on the bed up there, and he's he's listening to a story right now. Actually, I'm going to show you something else. This is going to blow you away. I'm going to show you what I'm using for my rest, my stand for my phone for the Zoom. This is what I'm using right there. We actually have a piano. Let's show you a little more of the RV here. But we actually have a piano in the RV, if you can believe that. And it is a pain in the butt. I'm just going to tell you, it's a pain in the butt. We're doing piano lessons. Their piano teacher actually had moved to Washington, and we'd already started doing virtual piano lessons. So now we stick a phone up on the roof like this. I don't know if you can see that. And then another phone out in front. And she does the same thing in Washington. And our kids are taking virtual piano lessons right now. And so they have to practice at least 5 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, and then also homeschool. We'd never homeschooled before. Our kids have been in public education, and it was great. We didn't have any issues with it or anything, but we just knew we couldn't do that on the road, so we had to get into that. But there's so many programs out there. I mean, and man, in like 1 or 2 hours, they're done with school, and then the day's ours. It's super cool. We've been to New Mexico. We've done hikes there in the forest. We've went through Texas, Oklahoma, went to the Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma. My great-great-grandfather's actually in there. Our kids got to see his name. The one that helped settle Snowflake years ago he's listed he was inducted into the Cowboy Heritage Museum there in Oklahoma City. They went to the Children's Museum. They've met people. Our kids have been able, we have LifeVantage people along the way. We're actually staying with some pro-8s in our business right now, Sonny and Anita Belanger here in Covington, Louisiana. We took our kids to the Space Museum in Houston. Just today, we took them to this awesome zoo out in the middle of Louisiana with giraffes and zebras and deer and all kinds of stuff, bison, and the wagon goes out through and you get to feed the giraffes. And I mean, like, we're seeing country, we're doing things, our kids are getting an education that you just can't get in a classroom and from a book and that kind of a thing. And it wasn't easy. It was a huge sacrifice. There's still a lot of sacrifices. One of our tires blew out yesterday. We were on the road for about 5 hours in one spot. But it was perfect timing because it was piano lesson time. So the kids did their piano lesson, the virtual piano lesson, while they were waiting for the tires to get fixed. And got back on the road, went across Lake Pontchartrain. I think I pronounced that right. It's one of the biggest bridges in the world. It goes across the whole lake from New Orleans to Covington, Louisiana. Our kids are learning geography. Right now they're learning about alligators and swamps and freeways built miles and miles on swamps. I mean, and just how the world works, how the economy works. And I don't know, it's super, super cool. And that's not why you're on this call right now, but I'm just telling you, network marketing is not everything, and it's not perfect. And it takes work. It's net work. It's not net wish marketing. But I like what one of the industry leaders says. He goes, it's not perfect, but it is better. One of my favorite quotes of all time I've learned in this business is that successful entrepreneurs are people who work a few years like most people won't, so they can spend the rest of their lives like most people can't. What are 2 of the biggest stresses in life? And there's other stresses. Maybe if it's relationships, sometimes that might be the hardest, but health and finances. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
That our health and our finances are what affects our life almost just about as much as anything, right? And we have the opportunity to help people with that. I mean, we have this, and not people, but also horses, dogs. I haven't asked anybody in Louisiana if they've given it to alligators yet, but they're reptiles, so their systems are probably different. But they probably have oxidative stress too. I don't know. But just totally joking aside, I hope you really listen to what you're learning, that you really get into it. This is the real deal. We're publicly traded on the NASDAQ. We're open in over 18 countries. The company has grown to from about 3 million to about 200 million. Since we left GNC, I love that I'd never heard of a network marketing company that started retail first and then went into network marketing. And now we've grown like crazy. And I'm telling you what, and you can quote me on this in 5 years, that right now, and actually I think it even started several months back, and that's why the company's doing so well. I don't know, you can take this to the bank as far as I'm concerned, but I just got the strongest feeling that these next 5 years are going to be the most critical years as far as massive growth and massive opportunity that this company is going to have. And all of you right now are having the opportunity. You know, I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what's going on in all different aspects. They say there's 2 sure things in life, death and taxes, but I want to add one thing to that. There's a third thing that's a sure thing in life, and that's trials. And trials, we're all going to have them, okay? And I will tell you what, like, we spent over $1,000 for 4 new tires yesterday. And it was hard, and we had to do it. We knew we had to do it because we put all those tires on at the same time, and the sidewall blew off of that thing. So we're changing all the tires. And and it was a pain, and it was hard and everything like that. But because of the residual income, we get a check on the 15th of each month. It's so reassuring. If something happened to me as a provider, we've got a check coming in. Yes, we have life insurance and other things like that. But you really think about it, life insurance really ain't going to do that much. And a lot of people don't even have life insurance. I know a friend of ours their brother just got diagnosed with, or recently got diagnosed with MS, and he just had this super, super fast downfall. She's a distributor, and he won't get on for tandem, and he never would, unfortunately. But he is now, like, I don't know if it's comatose or just like completely helpless in the hospital. They're wondering if he's going to live. And he's got 2 kids, and he was a sole provider, and I don't know if they had life insurance. You know, dig the well before you're thirsty. And a lot more, I'm every once in a while, and a lot of my team knows this, I get to this point where I'm going and going and going, and then I feel like I'm saying too much, and I don't ever want to get on too much of a soapbox. I'm just a regular person. I grew up on a farm and ranch. I'm from Snowflake, Arizona, and name is Sam Flake. As I always say, if a flake can do this, anybody can do this. So there you go. Alice, I don't want to take any more time. I need to get back in there here in a little bit anyways. I'm coming to Georgia next week. I'm super excited about it. And we're going to tear it up there. Guys, it's only getting better. The only thing that gets worse about this is the timing. Anybody on this call, my wife and I both, she does the business too. We just work together. You know, we are as open as it gets. We're not of anybody. We're here to help. We're only a phone call away, a text away, a private message on Facebook. Do not hesitate seriously to reach out and ask us any question. Our goal is to help 100 families be able to get to where they want to get financially. So thank you, Alice. Back to you.
Thank you, Sam. We really appreciate it. I love hearing Sam's stories, and I just love how down to earth he is and how he literally has grown this gigantic organization by helping his team. I mean, that's all he does is reach out and help us, and we appreciate you so much. Thanks for hopping on tonight. You guys have a good night. All right, everybody. You guys have a great night. I hope this information was full. Reach out to any of us, Kayla, Christy, Allison, all of us. We would be happy to help and share more information. If there's anything specific that you want more information about, we would be happy to send you some information or talk on the phone. And Christy's Facebook page is really helpful too. There's tons and tons of testimonials and stories that are shared. And it's just amazing. It's something that's, everybody should know about. And, I live in a rural area. I can't really stand on my rooftop and announce it to the world, but this is our way of doing it. So thanks for jumping on and for listening. Good night, everyone.
Night. Thank you, Alice. Thanks, Kayla, for coming on, and Kelly. And thank you, Allison. Y'all have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and end meeting.
Good night.